All right, I'm going to share a new horrific job interview experience that happened to me about a week ago. I'm going to share this story so that if people are going through similar negative experiences in this crazy 2025 job market, I wanted to share that they're not alone. You are not alone because everyone is experiencing this really bizarre and chaotic current job market where employers are acting very strange and you're getting the bottom of the barrel type of jobs out there that are trying to hire. So basically, this happened about a week ago for a website administrator position. And as you could see here, the salary was up less than 20 an hour, which is very below my pay range. My previous positions paid around 65 to 70 salary with benefits, but that was, about a year or 2 years ago. Now jobs are paying really, really low. Most of them are just contractor. But anyways, let's dive into this Indeed message. So after applying to this job on June 5, um, around a few days after, they sent me an automated in-person interview request with no direct message, no email, no nothing, which is already a red flag. But we're in desperate times, so when things like this happen, you kind of have to just go for it, which is what I do. But I've had bad experiences in the past, so in this case, I decided to send them a message just asking for clarification. So I said here below, hello, I have a question about the interview tomorrow. Will I be meeting with the owner of the business to speak with them, or am I expected to do an on site test? And the reason I ask this is because before I had an automated interview request like this one, and I actually showed up to the office thinking I was going to speak to someone one on one. But what happened was they automatically sat me in front of the desk and asked me to start doing work immediately without asking what my name was, without asking anything. They just wanted me to start working on their Shopify store. And I immediately left and I went home because it was very shady and it was a red flag. And I think they were asking for free labor, to be honest with you. So there's a lot of weird things going on. But because of that really bad experience, I now try to vet the interview before actually going. So this is the message I sent. And then let me see if I can pull up the other image. This is the rest of the message. So I asked the question, and then they respond saying, there's no testing, meeting with our employees responsible for our inventory. Now, I appreciate the response, but I mean, to most of you out there, isn't this kind of like not that much effort in the response? There's no clarity. There's no, oh, you're gonna meet with this person. They don't provide a name, a title. They're not gonna say, oh, we're gonna ask you about these things. It's just no testing, meeting with our employees responsible for our inventory. It's very vague. Now, here's the thing. Let's go back to the previous message. So I looked up the address. Let me pull it up. So if you don't know, you can look up. So the date of this was June 9. During this time was the Los Angeles ICE protest, which was a huge protest that was getting very intense during this exact weekend. And they were asking to interview on Monday. Now, if you don't know, this is still pretty recent. During this weekend, the National Guard was called to downtown Los Angeles to, control the protest and to basically shut it down. There was people protesting, there was people rioting, there was things getting burnt down to the ground. It was chaotic. Now, you might be asking, is that an excuse not to show up to the interview? Well, let me tell you what was going on. This is where the protests were happening. All right, this is City Hall, Los Angeles. The protest was happening around a 1 mile square radius. All right. this is the building I was supposed to interview at. You see, that's where my mouse is. This is the protest, where the red pin is. Now, things were burning down. There were National Guard with horses and things, and less than about a mile away is where they wanted me to drive to. Now, if this was a mile like out of the way of the protest, I would have showed up. But if you did not know, let me show you some images. This is what was going on during the same week as what the automatic interview request was telling me to drive to the in-person interview. You know, like, this was happening live, and then I get this automated message to drive through all of this, not knowing whether it was going to get worse or a little bit better. But this was in the path of where I live versus where they wanted to show up to an office. All right, this is what was going on. Just giving you a recap of what was going on between my path to going to this job interview and where I live. You know, freeways were being shut down. The National Guard was deployed. People were burning shit down. And I thought it would be reasonable to ask, where is it? To ask, is there any way we can hold an interview on Zoom tomorrow, considering there is a National Guard deployed within a 1 mile radius of your office? Seems a bit dangerous to cross that path now. This was the day before they wanted to schedule the interview. So I sent this on Sunday morning, or Sunday noon, 12:15 p.m. They did not reply. And I waited a whole day. Wait, I made a mistake. The interview was supposed to be on Tuesday, but I was asking if they could, do a Zoom call, considering there was a whole crazy conflict, within the area of where they wanted me to go. And eventually they didn't respond, and I had to cancel and give a reason. And my reason was employer is not responding to my direct message and will not verbally confirm crucial details on the interview logistics. And then, as you can see, you can see at the bottom here, they read it at 12:56 p.m. on Tuesday, which was around the time of the interview that they wanted me to show up for. But they never cared to respond or let me know what was going on, or even I would have been open to rescheduling it. Like, hey, there's a riot, there's a protest, there's horses, there's people shooting tear gas. Maybe we should postpone this a few days or go on Zoom. Am I crazy for considering that? I don't think so. I think that's pretty reasonable. But, it's 2025. They don't need to respect people applying for jobs. So they just left me unread. Now let me show you the reality of the 2025 job market. So let me just show you what this place looks like. This is the place, and I'm the reason I'm showing you this is because I want to paint a realistic picture of what's going on with the job market. So, obviously, this looks like a rundown building. This looks like a sketchy alleyway. There's tagging graffiti. You'd probably be like, no one in their right mind would move forward with this. Like, this is not a real job. And I agree. But let me tell you something. The last, I would say, 3 or 4 jobs that that actually contacted me back look like this. My last interview, I walked into a building that looked exactly like this, and I walked away because they were asking for free labor. And you might be asking yourself, maybe my resume is crap. Maybe I'm not a qualified employee, and maybe this is the type of quality of employer that I attract because I'm not qualified. Well, let me tell you that I have about 7 years of experience and I've worked with companies that were evaluated at almost $1 billion. I've worked with $1 million startups. I've worked with really smart engineers in the past. At one point, I worked for a company where they provided me with free food. I had a chair in the office that was worth about $2,000. I had the best computers, MacBook Pros, 4K monitors. So I've worked in places that respected their employees. I've gained the experience to put me in a position where I should be getting paid a decent salary with decent managers and decent amenities and health benefits and all of that. I'm just painting the picture of who I am as a corporate employee. I am not someone that's just, putting tape and cardboard boxes together and I'm applying for jobs because I don't know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. It's just the reality of the job market is that people like me that aren't coming from prestigious colleges and that worked at like these big companies like Google or Facebook, even those people are struggling. But the average tech employee like myself, this is actually what they're going through. So this is the place that thinks they could just have an application on Indeed and expect people to drive through riots, closed freeways, and not get back to you on Indeed messages. And what I wanted to say was, let's just bring up this. Let's bring up this. Yeah, so imagine you driving through a protest like this, trying to navigate the correct route so then no one throws rocks at your cars to work at a place that looks like this. Now, I respect the hustle of starting a business and stuff. I'm like, sure, this is great that you have a business, but it's like, no, like you should be aware that you're putting an application out there to a real person, and it would be considerate to at least get back to them on Indeed messages, because these are real lives that you're dealing with, and to just ask someone to drive through a protest for a low-paying job and not be considerate enough to say, hey, I understand that there's a protest and it's dangerous. Let's go ahead and just jump on a Zoom call. Because imagine someone that wasn't me that actually drove through all this, wasted my gas, put a dress shirt on. And imagine, I have a feeling if I drove to the office that day, the door would have been closed. And there's nothing I could have really done but reported it to Indeed or something. But I doubt anyone would have cared, and there would have been no repercussions for Soccer Shop USA. But what I think the point of this video that I wanted to share is that I think a lot of entry-level employees right now are expecting some normalcy, is that a word? Normalcy? Within applying for jobs, but the reality is it could be pretty bad out there. One of my jobs I applied for did look like this, the previous one I walked into, and I ran into a person that was also applying for the position, and we started small talking in the waiting room. And this person used to work for the government and had all the certificates, and yet he was applying for a position that was paying $20 an hour, which made me question, why are you here? Like, you worked for the government as a system administrator, and now you're applying for a job that operates in a broken down building paying $20 an hour. And the fact that you and I are here is a reflection of what the hell is going on with the job market. Anyways, that's what I wanted to share you my experience with applying for jobs in 2025. This is the reality. Sadly, I think a lot of people are expecting professional level companies to be hiring candidates, but a lot of those companies have frozen their hiring, and what you're getting now are literally these people. You know, these are the people that are in on like that are opening to hire people, and these are not the people you want to be working for. I mean, come on, look at this. All right, that's my story. If you could relate, great, and hopefully you can't relate. Hopefully you have no idea. You have no experience in this, which is good for you. Because honestly, applying for jobs in 2025 feels like an episode of Black Mirror. Because imagine applying for jobs that operate in, I don't know, a regular looking professional office to now going into dark alleyways. Alright, I'm done.